Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Good evening. And before I begin with this, I want to make sure that we all will get the disclaimer. The disclaimer, which is one thing that's very important. You are on live right now with managing stress, anxiety, and depression. My name is Patrick Graham, and I'm going to share with you my medicinal story concerning mental health.
Please note that the content of this podcast is intended for informational purposes only and should not be considered medical advice. Always consult with a qualified healthcare professional regarding any medical concerns or conditions. The views and opinions expressed by our guests and hosts are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of MSAD or Critical Mental Health. Patrick Graham is of the Christian faith and an ordained minister in the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Thank you for listening.
And I wanted to make sure that no matter what happens, we're able to get that through and get that together. So I just wanted to share with everyone those I know that I was on before. I wanted to share with you today that it's important for us to have faith and have trust in the medical field. I know that there are those of us who struggle with anxiety. There are those who struggle with depression. There are those who have, there's a myriad of mental health crises that people will go through. And one of the things, one of the taboo pieces of this is that many are ashamed or don't want to go to the doctor, don't want to see a therapist because of what we've put out concerning medical or medicine. I want you to know that we can't actually come up with by ourselves what we're depressed about or what we're anxious about. We do know this, that there are millions of people who suffer with anxiety and depression, and many of us do not want to take the opportunities that we have to deal with it. Now, I do understand this from the field that there are those who can't afford medical treatment, or there are those who can't afford therapy, don't have insurance for therapy, etc. And I know that if you look online, there are many who offer therapy for those who can't afford it. I just want you to take the time out to look for it. All right, that's one of the most important pieces of the pie. Now, if you could hear me, I just want you to tell me that you can or where you're from so that I can continue on. I just had a little bit of difficulties. I want to make sure we all could hear. What I want to share with you tonight is that even as a Christian, there are those that will put out information concerning Christians or shouldn't take medication. There are those who put out that there's a problem with people who take medication, that you don't have trust in God or you don't have faith in God. We need to do things on a natural standpoint in order for us to be able to get well again. You know, it's funny, one of the hardest things for a person to recognize that when you're going through a medical crisis or when you're going through something, you're really going through that thing on your own. There are a lot of people who would say, hey, I wouldn't do this, I wouldn't do that, I wouldn't do the other. Yeah, that is their opinion. But when you get to a place, especially with mental health, that you are spiraling out of control or there's something that's happening that's not firing off right, it's time for you to take notice of where you are and actually what's going on. The reason why I went live today is on this today and sharing this with you is because I was going through my Facebook, and today, being November 18th, my cousin got married and asked me to do the wedding for him. This is out in Washington State. What was going on with me at that time, which is last year this time, I was spiraling out of control. Spiraling out of control doesn't mean that I'm running the streets crazy, or I'm not doing, I'm running in front of cars, or, we have a bad misconception of what spiraling out of control. You can be spiraling out of control quietly, right? Just to yourself in isolation. Sometimes we go through it with grief. Something happens in the family, or you lose a job, or you lose a friend, or whatever it might be. You might be grieving something and spiraling out of control and thinking to yourself that, oh, I can get back on top of this. I can help get back on top of it. There's so many different ways to spiral out of control that you're so used to depression, or you're so used to your anxiety that you can't even feel it, that it's on you until you hit a brick wall. What I want you to understand is I don't want you to hit that brick wall, which is the reason why I'm coming to you now. I was on my way. I wanted to go to Washington State, and I remember calling my cousin who's to get married and telling him I cannot even get on a plane. My anxiety was so bad that I could feel the walls. Everywhere I go, I could feel the walls caving in. I could feel like the ceiling coming down on me and the floors coming up. I found myself in a panic, and my panics was a quiet panic attack because I already taught myself how to handle myself during panic attacks or an anxiety crisis, and yet I was losing it. I knew what I was going through, and I did not want to get on a plane at that time. And I remember how sad he was that I was not going to be able to go to his wedding. At that point, I decided that I was going to go and see a psychiatrist. I went to a psychiatrist. Yes, I said it. I went to see a psychiatrist. And when I went to see the psychiatrist said to me, it was referred to me by a spiritual person. And she said to me, well, what is your problem for having anxiety? And I said, I'm not really sure, but I can tell you that these are my symptoms. This is what I'm going through. And she was so rough with me, my psychiatrist. I should have reported her to the board. She was like, you are a man of God. And because you're a man of God, you don't need any of these medications. You don't need this. You don't need that. You don't need the other. She made me feel so bad that I actually got up and not walked out of her office, but I ran out of her office. I went back another 2 days or so later, sat down there, and she gave me some meds, and really and truly, when you're getting ready to take meds, and I want you to hear me out because you need to know this, you can actually have more anxiety at the time of taking meds than before you took it. I just want to know if you're with me. If you're with me, just give me a thumbs up. If you're with me, just wave at me. I want you to know that even when you are at the point of taking meds, you can be at that place where you can, in itself, have more anxiety than not have anxiety. So just taking it. I'm going to tell you this. I remember when it was time for me to take it, and this time this was a nighttime medicine. This medication I was taking at night. This was called Ativan, and I was taking that so that I can sleep. I was only doing 1 to 2 hours of sleep per night. And if you're not getting the sleep that you need, you are not going to be able to function the next day. I'm going to tell you this right now. If you're not sleeping 6, 7, 8 hours a day, a night, there's no possible way that you'll be able to function the next day. Whatever you're functioning on, you're either crashing in the middle of the day, or you're either crashing in the middle of the day, or you are just running on pure adrenaline. And what makes it worse is that a lot of us, if you can't function in the day, you're taking down coffee, you're drinking Pepsi, you're caffeining yourself, and you're putting yourself through a spiral when that happens. Now, listen to me when I tell you this. I had to take these pills, this Ativan. I'm not telling you what to take. I'm telling you what I took. Remember now, this is not advice for you to go get medication. I'm giving you my story. In order for me to have to go through a whole night, I had to take Ativan, and that Ativan brought me through at least 8 hours a day. Now, I'm used to waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and part of my behavioral before I got into the spiral is that I went to sleep. I went to bed, not to sleep, but I went to bed about 9:30, 10 o'clock. And so now I had to space it out so that I can go to bed at one time, wake up at another time, and I needed to get between 7 and 8 hours. And that is what Ativan did for me. All right, I'm just going to tell you where we are with that. I took that, which would give me the sleep. Then I went back because you have to go back to see where you are. All right, you can't just take a so and so amount of milligrams of medication and then after that you're just fine. It doesn't work that way. You always have to go back to your psychiatrist to make sure that the dosage is right, or if they have to up the dosage or whatever it may be. For me, in this case, when I went to my psychiatrist the second time around, she was so upset that I was still on it. I'm telling you, sometimes even when you get to a therapist, and I'm going to throw this out there right now, you may not be happy with the therapist that you have right off the bat. I just want you to understand that. Sometimes you have to go to 2, 3, 4 therapists until you get the one that's right for you. This psychiatrist that I had was not the right psychiatrist for me. I actually had more anxiety taking meds and more anxiety going to her office. And honestly, I'm going to tell you what I did. I started to pray about it. I prayed about it and I asked God, find me the right person so that I can get where I need to get. And this was now not a psychiatrist, but this was a nurse practitioner. This was a nurse practitioner. This nurse practitioner now, in this point, this nurse practitioner talked to me for a while. She didn't just prescribe something. She talked to me. She talked me through. She talked me through. She talked to me. She said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and give you something to sleep at night. Then when you wake up in the morning, we're going to give you another. It's like Effexor or venlafaxine. That's what it's called. And they started me out at about 33. All right, so I had to get something to sleep at night. I had to get the next phase of it in order for me to function through the day. Now, listen to me, everybody. Again, I'm not your doctor. Don't get out there and start doing what I'm doing. I'm trying to tell you how medication helped me. That's all I'm saying, how medication helped me. So what happened after that is they have the venlafaxine, and what it does for me, it's a time release. It's a time release. So I'm not just taking it like they have some other ones like Xanax, for example. If you take Xanax, Xanax works like immediately, like right on the spot, like 2 to 4 hours or something like that. I needed something that was going to take me throughout the day, and that was venlafaxine. That's what it did for me. What it did, it has a double thing. Remember now, this is my body. This is not your body. A double thing for me. What it did, let's go back to the first one. It helped me sleep at night. And then when I woke up in the morning, I took one that helps with anxiety and helps with depression. So it has this mixture in it that helps you not to overthink. And they have the other one that won't let you be in a stupor. I hope you're with me, everybody. I want to tell you that I don't know what I would do without it. I met with my nurse practitioner again, and my nurse practitioner said, we're going to up this thing. We're going to go from 33.7 to 70 something. Okay, it was 70 something. And when that occurred, and she gave it to me at 70 something, I felt balanced. And I'm going to tell you this, it took me about 6 weeks for me to get there. It literally took me about 6 weeks to get to that point. Now, what it helped me to do was to think. It helped me to slow down my overthinking. It helped me to be able to relax a little bit. No, this wasn't like weed smoking. This wasn't like cannabis. That might help for others. But as far as this was for me, it gave me the ability to slow down and think. I was able to take the plane flight because I took the Ativan, which calms you down. And the reason why I wanted to bring it back to you is because now not only did I have the meds, but the meds are now going to help me get through therapy. See, I couldn't sit in therapy long enough. I was always agitated in therapy. There was always some type of I was always uncomfortable during therapy. But now this Ativan, which is nighttime, that's only to sleep. Hear me out. That's only to sleep. And the venlafaxine, which at 70 milligrams. Some people take more than that, but for me, it was enough for me to level out. All right. Now, some people say, You don't have to take meds to do that. So some people can go to sleep with magnesium. Some people could go to sleep with warm milk. Some people can. Some people could go to sleep, like I said, heavy magnesium. Some people could go to sleep with certain teas that you can drink. That's fine. I tried it all. I tried it all. Nothing helped me except for that Ativan that just knocked me out. Now there's some side effects for me that happened. Some side effects for me was like vivid dreams. I mean, when I say I was having vivid dreams, it was like it my dreams were, they weren't bad dreams, but it was almost like, I don't know, visions or like watching TV or something. It wasn't wild. It didn't scare me or anything like that. I just knew that there was a lot going on in my dreams. But I knew that when I went to sleep at 10 o'clock and I woke up at, wow, 7, 8 in the morning, just going straight, I felt like lost something in life, like, because I'm so used to waking up at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. Now, I want you to know I did have some fear to taking meds. I could remember sitting there like at 9:55 at night with the meds just sitting in front of me and just saying to myself, I don't want to take this. I don't want to take this. I could do the magnesium. I could run a mile and come back and sleep. None of that really worked. I literally had to take these meds in order to go to sleep. So let's go back. My nurse practitioner, who uh, stresses psychiatry, she gave me Ativan. The Ativan worked for me. Then it was Effexor or venlafaxine. It worked at 33, but I needed a little bit more, 33 to 70, 70 something, and that held just right for me. I hope everybody's still with me. If you're still with me, just wave with me so that we can see where we are, because I want to tell you that meds and therapy, you got to do them both together. You cannot just do therapy alone, or just, actually, you can't just do the meds alone. I don't recommend just doing the meds alone. I recommend meds and therapy, because there are certain things that you're going to take off of your back or take off of your shoulder when you're dealing with therapy that can really take you away from the meds. Okay? I'll just share this. So I needed to have extensive therapy. Extensive therapy. What does that mean? And I'm not ashamed to put it out there. I want my listeners here, those who are following me on managing stress, anxiety, and depression, to understand that there's no longer a shame thing for it for me, or and I don't recommend you being ashamed to say, hey, I have depressive moods. There's no shame in you saying, I'm anxious. There's no shame in you saying, hey, I deal with bipolar. There's no shame, to saying, hey, my family comes from a schizophrenic family, or I have genetics tendencies for mental health. Nothing wrong with that. And if anybody says that there's something wrong with that, push them to the curb and start dealing with healing for yourself. Put them to the curb. Don't deal with that. Let me take you also to something. The Bible tells us, right, in Luke 5, that we ought to go to the physician. When we go to the physician and we find out we have high blood pressure, you know what we do? We take blood pressure medicine. When we find out that our cholesterol is high, we take medication for our cholesterol. Those of us who have asthma or going through something, you're getting ready to have an attack, you go ahead and press that pump, right? You do whatever you have to do. We take meds. You got a headache, you take a Tylenol. Now, we take meds for all of those things, but we are afraid to take meds for sleeping or to level us out some type of, and there are words for this, I'm not great at it, benzos and all of that. The problem is that you can abuse that, or you can get hooked to some of these things. But here's the thing. If you stay close to your doctor, if you stay close to your therapist, you'll know if you're reaching a place where you're totally dependent on that. All right. We're 20 minutes in this game, and I want you to understand that I'm not sharing this with you just for form or for fashion. I'm sharing this with you because many of us have a problem with medication, especially for mental health. Don't. Matter of fact, there are some people who are going to be on medication for the rest of their lives. There are so many politicians, some that you love. There are gymnasts, some that we love to watch. They go through their mental health. It doesn't mean they have mental health issues, but it does not mean here. It doesn't mean that you can't function through life. So many people will look at me and say, "Oh, you're managing your depression. How are you a pastor? You have no trust in God if you are dealing with depression or if you're dealing with anxiety." Hey, you could say whatever you want to say and you could think whatever you want to think. All I know is that everyone has something that they're dealing with. And I can function well as a pastor dealing with depression or anxiety or any mental health as long as you are managing it well. The same way the brother up the block or the sister up the block is a pastor with high blood pressure or a pastor with high cholesterol or whatever it might be. Illness is illness across the board, and we have to be able to normalize mental health. So after I dealt with that, I put myself in a mental health treatment program. Not ashamed to say it at all. You have some that run from 9 to 3 o'clock in the day. You have some of them that run from some run from 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock. This is extensive therapy. This is not therapy weekly. This is therapy daily, right? That we go through. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't let anyone know what I was going through at that time. But I did a lot of my church work in the evening when I left that program at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I didn't tell anybody what I was going through at that point. And one of the reasons why is because we are still not able to say, hey, I have to go to an institution or I have to go to a program in order for me to be able to be healed. We still don't know how to handle that, right? And so I didn't tell anyone. I went through a 6-week, almost 6 to 7 week program every day, right through Christmas, right through New Year's, right through maybe stopping around February-ish. And it was good for me to have gone there because number one, I was around people that were going through the same thing that I was going through. There are people who had to leave their jobs. There are people who there was a sleepover side of it that people had to stay over overnight. Now, I wasn't that critical, but I was critical enough to make friends with people and talk to people who was going through almost the same thing that I was going through. And that's another healing process. Could you imagine everyone if even church was like that? Could you imagine if you can come to church and talk about your mental health problems or your mental health issues? Oh, I think that would be a wonderful thing if we were able to do something of that nature, but we don't. And it's okay. We can bypass that or run through it. What I do want you to know is that you have to do something if you're spiraling out of control. You have to do something if your depression is taking you so low that you don't want to live. You have to do something in case your anxiety, is so high that you're not functioning well. You're not driving well. You're not working on your job well. When those things start to happen and there's a disruption, you have to do something about it. Sometimes it's meds and therapy. Sometimes it's therapy. Sometimes you got to get yourself into a program right away in order for you to be able to get it all together. And one of the things that have helped me, and I will not hold this down or hold it back, is that I believe in a higher power greater than who I am. I believe in Jesus Christ as the healer. But with Christ as the healer, he's expecting you to do some things behaviorally in order to line yourself back up. And that is not necessarily those who are dealing with genetic problems, etc., because this thing could go as wide as it may be. But I want you to know that I had to deal with praying. I had to deal with a change of company. I had to deal with letting go of bitterness. I had to deal with letting go of hate. I had to deal with letting go of anger. All of these things can cause a downfall in your mental health. And what I thank God for is that He gave me a great therapist at that time that I needed at that time, meds that I needed at that time, to be able to level me out to where I have to say at this very moment, I manage my mental health the same way I manage my blood pressure, the same way I manage my cholesterol, the same way I manage every other thing that I'm looking out for my body. I do exactly the same thing as far as it's concerned. You ask me the question: is meds, taking meds, is that proven that that I've given up on my faith in God? No, that's not what it means. It's not what it means. And I'm one of those who would tell you, if there's something in your life that you need straightened out, what I do want you to realize is you need to seek the physician. And I'm going to say it because it's important for you to understand that. You know, Jesus says Luke 15, and this is what he says, Luke 15. He says, Jesus answered them, Luke 15:31. He says, healthy people don't need a doctor, sick people do. I have come to call not those who think they are righteous, but those who know that they are sinners and need to repent. You have to know that you're not doing well in order for you to get the help that you need. Now, there are times that I've had therapists. I have to say, maybe altogether over the past how many years? I think that I was officially diagnosed around 2007, 2008. I might have had altogether about 8 therapists, about 8 altogether. Some have left the field. Some I didn't feel comfortable with anymore. But the one that I had recently was one that I needed. I needed so that I could be able to go through what it is that I was going through that was causing the spiraling. And it was a great one at that. One day we'll talk about that. But what I do want you to do is not be afraid to take your meds. Don't be afraid to go back 2 or 3 weeks later and say, hey, this meds is working for me, or it's not working for me. It's making me too tired. It's making my mouth dry. There's always going to be some effects to it, but I want you to know, stick it out until the change comes. So I literally was on medication for about 6 or 7 months. When I got to the point of where I was feeling 95% feeling great, it could have been because of the meds, right? It could have been because of that. But in this case, what I decided to do was ask the doctor, can I scale back? Can I scale back? I found myself without meds, sleeping still 6, 7 hours, no problems. And I got off of that one first, all right? I got off of that one first. Sometimes you have to allow the meds to work, all right? But I got off of that one first and did well with it. But then the behavioral side of it, let me just say this, but the behavioral side of it, I still had to work on some things because you still have to go to bed early, right? You still have to have routines of winding down. Those are the type of things that you need to work on in order to get to where you are. That's one. The second thing I started to work on was moving from the 70-something milligrams to the 33. So you cut them in half. You just don't go down altogether and stop. Did that also. And I started to get these zaps. They feel funny, but there's like these little zaps, like, and that lasted for about 4 or 5 days after coming off of it, straight coming off of it. Had little zaps, drank a lot of water, did a lot of healthy eating. You know, read up on it. There's a lot of healthy ways to eat, and that's how I was able to come off of it. Now, I came off of it though with supervision. You don't just do it on your own. I'm not taking this pill. I'm not taking this that. You don't do that. You use the same psychiatrist or the same nurses practitioner that you got it from. Those are the ones you talk to, and if you have to call them all the time to make sure that you're where you need to be, keep doing that until you find yourself regulated. It happened for me. So I happen to have made it maybe through about 6 months to where I am right now, and I thank God. Like I said before, I am I'd rather say I'm a Christian. I was going to say I am religious, but I'm a Christian. I believe in Jesus. I believe that God forgives. I believe that these are some of the things that I was going through. I believe that God forgives. I believe He never leaves you nor forsake you. I believe so many different things now that I didn't believe before, but my faith has brought me this far. So let's go through it. Therapy, meds, and my faith. You can always get rid of meds somewhere down the line as long as you are, leveled off. And you can also, therapy doesn't have to be every week. Sometimes therapy is once a month. Sometimes therapy is twice for the month. There are times when I've skipped therapy for maybe 4 or 5 weeks straight. But it's not something, always know that you have someone to go to that you can talk to. And Jesus is one of them. But on the other side of it, there's nothing wrong with therapy and nothing wrong with meds. Don't let anybody tell you that there's anything wrong with taking meds. All right? As long as you stick with the physician and don't try to do all of this on your own. Sometimes your medical doctor can prescribe it for you. Yes, that's true. Xanax, Zoloft, all of those things. It can be subscribed to you, but you need someone, psychiatry, a therapist, a nurse practitioner that knows this thing inside and out, that can walk you through that. A lot of doctors love to give medications because there's some type of kickback or some type of whatever that they get back from it. Don't deal with that. You deal with a psychiatrist. You deal with even them too, but still you deal with your therapist and manage that thing together. I want to help somebody along the way that what I've gone through, God has fixed it, but He's fixed it by giving me the right people that's in my camp. I call them my mental health camp, all right? And I want you to be able to do the same thing. If you're spiraling, if you feel like you're spiraling, or you feel like things are out of control, if you feel like grief is holding you down, something, I don't care if you're a relative or whoever died years and years ago, you still may be dealing with that same grief because it was not handled properly. Please go see someone. You can DM me, or you can leave a comment in the section. Hey, Pat, tell me where to go. Tell me where I can go to start with my insurance or whichever. I will help you through it as much as I can. Now, I do want you to know something, and I got to play this for you really quick because there is a disclaimer, and here's the disclaimer. Here we go.
Please note that the content of this
Gotta let
podcast
you
is
know
intended
that.
for informational purposes only and should not
Yes.
be considered medical advice. Always consult with a qualified healthcare professional regarding any medical concerns or conditions. The views and opinions expressed by our guests and hosts are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of MSAD or Critical Mental Health. Patrick Graham is of the Christian faith and an ordained minister in the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Thank you for listening.
So I want you to know that whatever I've said today, some you have to take with a grain of salt, but I do want you to get help as soon as possible. Mental health is very, very important. Those of you who's hanging with me, managing stress, anxiety, and depression, I do have those who will be coming on. My doctor will be coming on. My therapist, an old therapist, will be coming on just to help along the way. There are those who have stories just like mine that will help you to recognize that we're all in this together in some way or another. You know, it's not the blood pressure gang, it's not the cholesterol gang, but those of us who go through depression, anxiety, or any mental health. I just want a safe space for you to be able to talk through this. So I want to let you know I don't have a problem with meds. I used to have a problem with meds, but I don't anymore. I recognize that it will help you along the way. Don't be afraid of taking it. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid that you're going to get hooked. Just know that you want to get well. And these are some of the ways that you need to adhere to in order for you to get well. Anyway, this is my show, and those who have a problem with prayer, hey, you can jump off right now. But I do need to pray for those who need it and also for myself. God, I thank you so much for this opportunity just to be able to talk to someone today about their mental health, about medication, about whatever they need to do to get well. I'm asking you now, Lord, I have depended on you for healing, and you have given it to me. But I've also asked you, Lord, that we may maintain our courage to be able to say, I'm a sinner. I've done wrong. I need to be healed. I need to change the trajectory of my life. I need to get rid of some friends. I need to add on some friends. I need to have a routine, whatever it may be, God, that will keep us level and aligned with you. We love you, we appreciate you, and we thank you. And at the end of all of this, I ask you, God, to save us. So, God, straighten us out. We pray this in Jesus' name and for his name's sake. Amen. Amen. So, everyone, I'm also will be getting those who guests to jump on with me. And so if that should be the case, just support us by going to, I actually forgot what it is. I'll tell you right now.
We also want to take a moment to express our gratitude for your support. If you appreciate the content we provide and would like to support us as we continue delivering quality episodes, please consider making a financial contribution to msadtipjar.com. Your support, no matter the size, goes a long way in keeping this program running and accessible to everyone. Thank you for being a part of our community.
All right, everybody, and God bless you. God bless you real good. Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. Hold on. Here it goes.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of MSAD. We hope you found valuable insights and inspiration to enhance your mental health journey. If you enjoyed the show, please consider subscribing, sharing, and leaving a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback helps us grow and reach more listeners like you. Again, thank you from the host, Patrick Graham of MSAD, Managing Stress, Anxiety, and Depression. Have a great day, and God bless you real good.
Bye-bye now.